and it is showtime. So, welcome to my first Facebook Live event ever. Those of you who might not know me, my name is Maristela Bertram. I am the owner of My Space Reclaim, and I am a certified professional organizer. Um, I am totally terrified to do this, but I'm more excited than anything else. So I welcome your feedback and your suggestions. If you have comments about or questions about what I am going to discuss, please share those in the comment section of this event. Or if you have feedback for me personally, I invite you to send me a text, a message, email, private message. Any of those will work, but please do give me feedback about my performance tonight. Um, so this is something I don't think would be happening if it was not because of the context we are living in. Many good things are happening, I think, around this social distancing phenomena. People, businesses, schools, friends are finding new and better ways, more efficient ways of doing things. So ironically, I think that even within this social distance, we are doing quite well, and we are getting closer, actually. For example, I'm doing this, otherwise I would not have tried this, but I received a message, a call from Malta this morning. This woman I met in 1992 in Hungary, and I haven't heard her lovely voice and accent in all that time. I almost fell off my bed when I had that call. It was fantastic. So I think we're getting very creative and closer than ever. So let's see. What I would like to do today is give you some tools and the whys and the hows regarding those tools to better navigate your environment during this interesting time we're living in. So let's see. Let's start with that. Hold on. We are in a very strange situation. We are confined at home, and we are sharing the space with our loved ones. We are not necessarily feeling ill. We have continued working from home, most of us, right? And some people are having to homeschool their children, and that's really driving them insane. Um, we have to juggle the home upkeep. We have to keep people relatively entertained and fed. And we're trying at the same time not to eat everything in sight. Happens to me. Um, and it's a lot. It's a lot to think about it and to put everything in perspective, especially when many of us also have fears about the economic future of our situations and our country. So this is a lot. And it's a combination of things that can make us feel disoriented, if nothing else. But let's see, our the fact that we are at home makes us slow down one way or another. We are at a slower pace right now. And when that happens, we tend to become more mindful, and we try to start, well, we even if we don't try, we start seeing things in a different way. Things that might not have bothered us before start bothering us. And clutter comes into the scenario with a vengeance, I would say. Clutter is in many ways a distraction. It's clutter is physical, it's digital, it's mental, it's emotional, and it's the noise that distracts us. So it becomes it becomes very prominent when we are at the state of slowing down and seeing things that we have neglected, needs, wants, honey to-do lists around the house. All these things, when we slow down, start becoming much more apparent and many times can even bother us. Because many of these things we have just ignored until now when we cannot escape from them because we are trapped at home. So, um, the so clutter becomes an obstacle to our dreams. And the word clutter comes from the Middle English clutter, COOTTR, which means to coagulate. And that's exactly what it does to the energy. In Feng Shui, one of the most important things we need to do to be able to harness the positive energy and move the energy is to declutter precisely. Clutter turns chi, or the positive energy, into shards, which is negative energy. So energy gets stagnant or coagulates in the presence of clutter. So you don't need clutter transforming your vital energy into negative energy, because what it does. And you don't need clutter making your home harder to clean, especially now when everybody is in the same space. You don't need clutter making it impossible for you to find what you need when you need it, especially if you're working from home, especially now that the stores are closed. Yay, Amazon Prime, but it's not necessarily the case that we can just get anything we want through Amazon Prime. So you need efficiency, you need agility, you need cleanliness, you need comfort, you need peace. And those things are things that organization brings into your life. So you need to be able to live in a space that is clutter-free and that supports you rather than becoming an obstacle to the achievement of your goals. Our physical environment has a direct effect on our mind, our bodies, our souls, the way we think, the way we feel. So we actually need a home that is a launch pad to our dreams instead of an obstacle. So your home should be nurturing, should allow you to recharge your energy. It should be a cocoon of safety and joy. And my question to you is, how does your home feel right now? Is your home performing these roles for you? And if not, chances are that you can improve this, not only by decluttering, but also organizing, because this is a two-part process. You're decluttering and minimizing your collections of things. It's very important. But if these things don't have a home or are properly organized, accessible, and manageable, then they're not organized. We need both things in the process, declutter and organization, because you cannot organize clutter. That is a very important rule to remember. So clutter is basically neglected decisions, things that we have just not paid attention to, forgotten, decisions that were delayed. That's what clutter is. Let's see, for example, think of your junk drawer in the kitchen. That's a classic example. If you cannot open that drawer easily, or you cannot name specifically what things are in that drawer, then that is clutter. You have a clutter drawer. That's probably why it's called the junk drawer. I like to call it the miscellaneous drawer, but that's probably the reason why. So our home, here's a question. Are we asking too much of our homes? Your home should contain everything that is dear to you. But then maybe we have lost the perspective of what dear is. Sometimes it feels as if the right uh, perspective on what is truly dear to us has been lost, and we keep stuff for all kinds of reasons. This is why what makes my job borderline psychology, if you will, because my mission is to help clients understand their underlying motives for keeping all sorts of stuff that they keep. And frankly, this stuff just gets in their way of moving forward in life. Organization is about designing your physical space to make it easier to do whatever it is that is next for you in your life, to free you up so you can go pursue those goals, needs, and wants that you have. But when we don't keep this in mind, then it our stuff acts in the opposite way. It blocks our path. So how about investing some scheduled time to make your home be the launchpad to your best self and the attainment of your goals? I'd say this is a great moment to do that. I said investing because you would never waste your time by being organized or organizing. It pays off handsomely. And I said also schedule because what gets scheduled gets done. Conversely, what doesn't get scheduled will usually rely on our willpower. So if we are serious about something, it's better to rely on systems than to rely on our willpower, because systems make everything easier. So how do we go about this? With a system, of course. So let's see, if you need to put everything away in your home, the things that are actually at this moment are not put away, would you be able to do that? That's an important question, because everything in your home needs a home. Uh, and if you have not assigned assigned homes for the things that you own, then that's a problem. You don't know if your home is enough to contain all the things that you want to keep. And we cannot, if we make I heard an organizer once say this, and I love it. If you make a gallon of chili, you cannot put that gallon of chili in a quart gallon container if that's all you have. You have to edit your things to fit comfortably in your home. The truth is, we have lost that vision of what is enough and what is needed in this country in particular. Um, so every single item in the house needs a home, and preferably one single home per category of items. That allows you to find things easily and allows you to put things back. And let me tell you that putting things back is very different from putting things down. Putting things away is very different from putting things down. When we put something down, we just dump it, whatever it is. But when you put it back or put it away, then you take the moment or trouble to go put it where it should be. That will make it completely much more easier to find it when you need it again. So that's a very clear distinction we should always keep in mind if you want to start living a more organized life. If anything goes anywhere, then everything will go everywhere. And that is the recipe for clutter and disaster. So keep that in mind. There is an article I wrote some time ago it's called The Defining Moment. And I will put a link on the comments here. That article explains that the moment you enter your home, re-enter your home, that moment is defining in how you will keep on living in your space, because you probably are carrying a briefcase, sports equipment, lunch bags, lunch boxes, whatever it is, a myriad of things that don't necessarily relate to each other, but you're probably carrying a group of things. What do you do when you enter your home? Do you just put everything, dump everything somewhere and continue doing any other things? There are many reasons that are very valid to do that. Like if you need to use the bathroom or you really want to say hello to your loved ones, I understand that. But let's say here's an idea. Why don't we put a good bin, basket, crate next to the door or whatever the entrance area is? Something that would complement the decor, by the way. And then if we have the need to dump things, we put it there, because that defines a group of items that had not been allocated properly. So whenever we finish doing our hellos or whatever, we go back there and we take one thing at a time and we put it where it goes. So that's one way of eliminating these mysterious bags and boxes and things we don't know what they are, that have been suspiciously rolling around through your space for a month or two, because I find this every time when I work with clients. This is why I'm telling you these things, because I have experienced that for the past 5, 6 years. So that is something that happens to everybody, but there are ways around that. So let me see if I can put that link here in the chat for you to read at your convenience. Can I write in the chat? Okay, here we go. It's right there. So that's one thing I wanted to put for your consideration there. And another consideration we have to keep in mind while getting organized is in this specific scenario that you're going to be doing this by yourself, is preparing for organizing. You have to let your family members that you need 3 or 4 hours of uninterrupted time. I would not recommend you do this for longer, because you will get decision fatigue. It's a real thing. So when you are planning on engaging with this organization process, make sure that you have that amount of time and that it's uninterrupted, and preferably you will communicate that to your family so they stay out of your way. Please remember, when organizing someone else's space, you need to have their input, and if not their expressly their permission. Ideally, they would organize their own space, but the truth is very different, especially when we live with teenagers or on cooperating partners or whatever the case might be. Many times we do have to intervene in their spaces for the sanity of the home. Remember, the home is a system. So any dirt and any broken things and any clutter in one space will have an impact on the energy of the whole space and the relationship between the people. So also turn off your cell phones if possible, because a ding here or chime there will take you through a rabbit hole. So also make sure you're rested, fed, hydrated, and you are in a good mental space to do this. And start small. That's another thing. Start small to see how far can you get during your allotted time. This will give you a better idea on how to divide your projects from there on, and will tell you a lot about your stamina when you're dealing with organization. But really, where do we start in the process? I had put these ideas together based on my experience with clients, because these things come to the surface over and over. So I just decided to put them on a list for the benefit of all of you. So when decided where to start, consider what areas are the most important to you, or better, what area is the most important to you, or the one that bothers you the most. And this will make your first project have a greater impact if you tackle that space. Within that space you have chosen, if it's a room, for example, you might want to select a portion like a closet or a chest of drawers to start with that first. Do not try to tackle everything in one day, because you're just going to give up and you're going to get overwhelmed. And this is what happens to most people. They try to do a lot and they will get lost in the process. Now, second thing, take pictures, because seeing pictures might give you the answer you need. You might not have a particular area that you think needs your priority, but when you take pictures of the spaces, that gives you certain objectivity that allows you to really assess the areas in a different light. Also, you need to take pictures before you start a project, because you want to take pictures at the end to see the comparison. When you finish that first project and you see before and after pictures of that project, you realize how much you accomplished. Because maybe you don't feel that way, but when you see those pictures, then you do. You understand you have done a lot, and it's a great accomplishment. Also, the pictures can tell you, even though you might not have noticed, that one area really needs action fast. So that could be another way of deciding where to start your project. The next thing you have to do, the third step here, is prepare your equipment. You may have to make sure you have handy large, strong trash bags, like the contractor kind are excellent. But if you don't have those, then what you can do is double bag, because when you start throwing things in trash bags, they get so heavy so fast. So keep that in mind. And then you want to have also big carton boxes. You can drive around the neighborhood. Many boxes are discarded near dumpsters every day, or drive through the back side of a supermarket or retail store. If you do this during this time, make sure you use your mask, you use gloves, and you take your Lysol disinfectant and spray those cartons, because COVID-19 leaves the least amount of time on the carton surfaces, but still you need to be protected. So that's a little tip according to the COVID-19 situation. You also want to have a good supply of plastic bins. You can repurpose some that you might have at home. After all, you're going to be going through everything, so that is a possibility. Or you can purchase them online and they will arrive conveniently at your home. You will need, I don't know, maybe 10. And we're talking about the containers or bins that are 60 to 75 quarter of a gallon size. And I will explain why you need this in a moment. So the fourth step you need to do here is prepare your zones or your categories. I recommend you prepare your bins to hold certain categories of items. I will describe what these categories are, and I'm going to say what goes in what. Not next week, I'm going to go deep into that, and I will explain why in a minute. There are 17 categories, 17 that I have identified as surfacing on every single project that I have worked with clients. Not every time we do the 17 categories at once. Sometimes we start by merging 2 or 3 of these and then separating, But since you're going to do this at your own pace and at home, I think it's best if you start with your 17 categories. So then you don't have to go back over each category to start subdividing. So you could reduce the categories at your convenience, but then keep in mind you're gonna have double work. Then you can put a tape on the wall to establish a zone for a category. You can write on a blue tape, put it on the wall, or write post-it, pin it on the wall, whatever you decide. But it's best if you have your 17 categories or zones. If you have worked with me in the past, you know about these categories one way or another. Last week, one of my favorite clients texted me saying that her paper category was atrocious. I just laughed because it's a perfect word to describe what the paper category is. Because even if you work with me, you will have assignments, and this is one of the biggest things to work with these categories after we leave. And she was doing her homework and she decided it was atrocious, but she's a really diligent client and I'm sure she's going to do that very well. Um, so I will put in the chat right now a copy of these 17 classifications for your reference. Let me put them here. 1 second, please. There they are. Let me see. Yes. Okay. So the 17 classifications, in our next Facebook Live, I will discuss how to handle each category. What you do with these categories will determine your success organizing your home and will avoid precisely the situation that the name of this event describes. And it's when you organize your desk, for example, and you put the papers somewhere, and it looks great, but it's just because you just move the mess somewhere else. That is not the purpose of organizing. So you will see little by little how this works. Right, so I need to tell you what are some of these categories because they're not necessarily obvious. Well, trash is trash, that's obvious. And donation, anything in good, relatively good state that you don't need or want, you put in donation. And recycling, well, it will depend on what your city recycles, what you put there, because it could be not recycled but trash, depends. To sell, it's a classification I just don't like because it really takes more time and effort than you need to employ in this thing. Do you really want to engage in this process? It takes time, it takes effort, and usually the return on your investment for the time and effort is not comparable to what you might be expecting. Also, what's valuable to you, it's could be valuable for very personal reasons that it's not going to be valued in the market the same way. So I really try to convince my clients to stay away from the selling thing, except if it's something clearly expensive and in perfect condition and it has the instructions and even the tag attached with the price. There are a few exceptions. Reallocate is a classification that you use when something is not belonging to the particular area you are organizing. It's very important that you only keep in one area what serves the purpose of that area. And anything else, like if I find a drill in the kitchen, like I have found so many times, well, that is clearly one of the things that will go to the reallocate bin. Shredding, please just put the absolutely necessary things there so you have less things to shred after because it's time and or money, depending if you take your shredding somewhere. If it's something that has your address, please don't put it in shredding because your address is all over the internet. it doesn't make any sense. So like account numbers, yes, social security numbers, that kind of thing is sensitive information. You want to, some people might want to put health stuff in that category. Children's mementos or souvenirs is anything around the house, like trophies, projects they had completed, things like that, things that really belong to them. Uh, do not include lunch menus, for example, in the category. Not every paper the kids bring home from school should make it there. Um, if there is like school evaluations, for example, that is a good thing to put in the paper group, not in the children's mementos, because evaluations and things like that will have a file, and we'll talk about paper later. Warm and fuzzy is a classification I love. It's just this box that will live in your closet. But for now, it's just a bin in your zone. Don't worry about what you're going to do afterwards with that for now. But anything that represents a lot of emotion and good memories for you goes there. Be very selective because each person should have one bin of warm and fuzzy. Um, for now, you can everything that it's emotional to you that you find around the house, a note, um, a poem that someone wrote you, I don't know, whatever it is, a very special picture of you and your best friend when you were little, that kind of things go in that bin for now. The coins classification, well, is self-explanatory, but I find so much money around the house, and my clients have money everywhere, and they don't know they have this money. I have found so much money for my clients. When you have one area, central area, to put your coins, then the money grows fast. And if you go to places like that have a machine like Coinstar, they do charge a percentage. But I remember, if I remember correctly, if you choose the option to go get a voucher for a retailer, then the commission is waived, and they give you all the money in the voucher. I'm not sure about this, but the point is, if you have one single place where you put coins consistently, the money grows, and it's money that we don't even consider we have. So that's one of the classifications. Pictures, there goes all the loose pictures and those stored in odd places with the frames that I find under beds and in weird coat closets, pictures in framed, and it's just odd. Well, those need to be stored in this particular bin or zone that you created, and take the frame off the picture. So keep just the picture. If you want to keep the frame as well, then put the frame next to the bin or something. We're going to deal with that later. And then paper is every piece of paper that you find around your house, whether it is an appliance manual, instruction manuals, loose receipts, notes, everything paper goes in one place. I have filled so many enormous containers with paper in projects. It's laundry and paper, I would say, are the nemesis of the households in general, what I have found. So anything paper for now, you're just without thinking. Don't start thinking. Just put the paper in one place. The media category is everything CDs, DVDs, cassettes, and VHS, if you have them, records, all that kind, music and movies, and even the domestic CDs that we find that we had created when the kids were little or whatnot. That goes there. Then books is self-explanatory. Everything that's books for now, you're going to put it in one single place. And magazines, the same. Why people love keeping old magazines, I don't know. but we're going to tackle that. For now, they go in the same bin. Then topical medicines and equipment includes everything that we medicinal that we apply to our body, to our nails, to our teeth, to our mouth, scalp, hair, but that goes on us, not in us. Then it also includes things like your ice bag, your heating pads, gauze, band-aids, all that kind of thing is what I call medicinal. So it goes in one place. And for now, don't just go running, putting things where they go. Avoid that temptation. I will explain also why in a minute. So the other category is oral medicines. Anything we ingest should go in one bin because I find medicines everywhere. Everywhere, even spilled pills under bed and all these things. Let's put them for now in one category. We're going to deal with that because I have good advice to give you about your medicines. And then pending projects is the last category. Anything you might have started, or your kids or your wife or husband, but had not been finished, then that is considered a pending project. So that, along with all these components that are out there somewhere, you will put them in one specific place. Now, the next step in this process is determine the room purpose of, or the space purpose. Before you go further, you need to clarify what is the purpose of each space in your home and activities, what activities are conducted there. This could be a pivotal moment where you and your family decide that instead of having a formal living room in the front room, what you need there is an office. It's up to you. You live in the house, you use the space, you can make that determination. But then if you make that decision, do not forget to also sketch the tasks and steps that are needed for that change to happen. And it could be that you notice, well, in the front room, instead of using it for formal dining, we're always doing office stuff there. And we have a lot of equipment and a lot of supplies. Well, that might be a hint that you need to make that change. It's all up to you. But everything in this process, everything related to a home office that you find around your home, then you might be wanting to group those things in the front room because eventually it's going to be turned into an office, so you can start the process by gathering those things over there. Or if you do have an office at home, then you can start gathering these things in the corresponding room, which is the office, until you make the transition. Then with time, you follow all the organization that you want to do in all the rooms, and then you tackle that project of transferring that space, the office, to the front room, and then you can create there the office of your dreams. But you need to take steps toward that, and you need to group the items you find related to office to where it makes the most sense according to the plans that you have put in motion. So the other thing that comes with the organizing process that it's so important is you need to touch everything. This is something that most people do not do or understand. You should not leave any box or bag unopened. Avoid the temptation to just put it back saying, oh, I know what's there and I want it. Because in my experience, every time that happens with a client and we open the bag or open the box or whatever it is, a lot of surprises happen. They had no idea they had that. They have been looking for that for years. There's money there, or surprises in general. Many things surprise us. So In organizing effectively, you do have to strip everything from the package. You need to see what's there. You need to decide on everything. So you need to see. Um, and along with that is, well, the removing of the package. You want to strip every single item from its and leave it at its most basic form whenever possible. Is also good or better to store those things without all this packaging, because you cannot see what's in there later on and you might forget that you put it there. So once, if it's applicable, that is, because there are things that need to be preserved special way, but then label, and repack. It's good, because sometimes when we pack the first time, it's not good at all. We did it in a hurry. Someone else did it. So make it your own and touch it, decide, repack if needed. If not, just leave it as it is. Let's say, for example, let's say that you are organizing your office and you find 800 pens, like I did once in one client's home. Yes, a lot of pens. Well, you will need pens, but you don't need 800, do you? Remember, your home is living space, not storage space. This is another truth that many people forget. So you decide to keep 25 pens and donate the rest to your neighborhood school, for example. But then you also found in the category of home office media that you have CDs and floppy disks, let's say, for example. So most likely you want to trash everything that is floppy disks and CDs, because we have much better, more efficient ways of storing information. Anything that doesn't serve the purpose of the area, you are going to take out. And you might decide on those things right away, like if they're trash, you can just chunk them. Since you will be touching everything, what do you do with every item, with these items? Do not, what you take out of the space, that is, do not run to the correct space to put these things where they go. Place them in the relocate bin that you have prepared among your categories and leave it there for now. And when you hold an item, ask yourself questions like, do I need this? When was the last time I worked or used this? Work with this or use this? Who gave it to me? Why do I have it? Do I like it? Do I want it? Maybe this item will be a good candidate for the sale zone or the donations or maybe the trash, perhaps. That's decisions that we have to make. Then the 8th step in this process will be the allocation of things. After you have skimmed your categories of items that will go from items that will go in the space, then you will decide where within that space those items will go. This decision requires considering things, for example, like the use you give to that item. Is it used often, frequently? How often do you use it, and the space available you have to store those things, and the space that such type of item will occupy. Because it could be that it's a big collection of certain kind of items. So if you had kept your 800 pens from the example before, that probably would occupy a whole drawer of the desk. And that is a lot of wasted space, if you ask me, on hoarding pens alone. So you need to skim your categories. At this point, you might decide that there is a better space or place for a certain group of things, and or also you can decide that you don't need as many items in a category, or that you don't need a category at all. Those are decisions that can come out of the step in the process. So away goes the resume paper and binders that you kept since you applied for your first job, because resume on paper is not a thing anymore. So bye-bye. Next step is considering the purchasing solutions. The organizing solutions. Um, so when you have decided on the allocation for everything, that will go back in the space. You might notice that there is a need for a certain container or product or something that would allow you to store that better in the space. At this moment, and not before, at this moment is that you can consider purchasing stuff like containers. Or I don't know if it's drawer dividers, whatever it is. Uh, you might have a lot of things that you can repurpose in your home, because sometimes we buy things, they don't work as we thought they would. We dismantle systems and use the parts in different places. Well, now is the time to put those things to good use. And after you analyze those things, if they do not serve the purpose, go ahead and find your solution somewhere else. Now, when you do that, you need to measure and measure again, measure the space and measure again, and then purchase, because you are limited by the specific area you have, space available you have to put that item in particular. And then review your decisions. Once everything is where it needs to go, look again at the space with a critical eye. Determine if the items fit comfortably where you intend to put them. Maybe you decide at that moment, okay, then let me put this category of items here instead of there because it will fit better. That is a very good outcome. So you can decide two things. When that happens, you can decide edit the collection further, eliminate even more items, or reassign the space you have for that category of items. Remember, you organize for the aesthetic value and functionality of your life. So keep that in mind. It needs to be functional. And finally, label. You need to label, and this is not a vanity thing or a waste of time, because it's so necessary. When others are involved in the space in particular, you want to label. That way everybody knows where everything is, they know where to get what they need, and especially they know where to put it back. And this will be the key to remain organized. I know that not only the label does the trick, but a person has to actually go do the work and go put things back. But if things are labeled, areas are labeled, then at least the people know, and this increases the chances of consistency of putting things back. It does. It works wonders. So there you have it, 12 steps to go through this process. And I hate leaving you hanging there with some suspense about what to do with your 17 categories, but we don't have time to tell you that today. So for now, move through your spaces following the steps discussed, and everything and anything fits in these categories, then you put it there and do not deal with that, because if you start dealing with those categories in the middle of your process, without having gone through the other spaces that you will want organized, that you need to declutter, then I guarantee you, you will not finish. You will not finish. That's what trips so many people in the process. They get overwhelmed. You need to keep your focus and your system and be steady and even with what you do. Um, Also, as you move from space to space, you will find many more things that will fit those classifications. And to work with those classifications before you have started the totality of the space is just a waste of time. Um, Also, well, in general, this trying to deal with that will overwhelm you. So just keep it for the end. And I promise I will let you know what to do with them. Um, so next week we're going to talk about the categories, what to do with them. So make sure you put this event in your calendar and don't miss it. It's the same day, Saturday at the same time, 7 Central Time. And this video hopefully will be recorded, hopefully have been recorded and will be here on Facebook business page for your future reference. Also, I want to give you some homework. In the comments, I will place a link of an article I wrote some time ago. It's called 4 Factors That Feed Disorganization. As you go organizing, you will have a fresh perspective on these factors so they cannot sabotage your efforts in organizing. So I'm going to put that right now in the chat here. Hold on. There. There. Okay. And I would like also to add one more thing. Always, always, always empty your bags, suitcases, and handbags when you return from a trip or overnight stay or whatever. Store those items completely empty and with the zippers closed. Um, Especially ladies, clean up your handbags when switching handbags. We waste so much money and so much time when this is not done. There are products that go bad inside suitcases, or we don't know where we put this or that, and then we buy more of the same. And there many important documents are missed or lost this way, or papers that we need for whatever, because we left them there and we just don't remember. Needless to say, I have found expired medication, expired makeup, receipts of all kinds. These receipts of medications could have been used for the preparation of the tax report. So this is, don't put paper just anywhere. We're going to have a system for that, I promise. But in the meantime, at least see what's in there and empty everything and close zippers. Yeah, I have found coins. I have found so many surprises. Well, you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, accountability is super important in this process, and let me tell you that it plays a big, big role. Many people hire a professional organizer to have accountability. Sometimes they just have no clue where to start, and honestly, they don't have the knowledge or the skills. But sometimes they just want someone to direct them in the process and hold their hands, and that's what we do. I can do that with some of my clients. If you need accountability, what you can do is engage a friend. In this time of social distancing, you can still, by Zoom or FaceTime or whatever method, engage a friend, and you do it at the same time. I promise you, it's so much more fun. And you can send pictures back and forth of your progress and stay motivated that way. It's really good to do that like that. You can drink wine in the meantime, you know. So this is something that it's very important, the accountability factor. And then also in my blog, I have many articles and blogs I have written about all kinds of things organization-wise. Some are more broad, some are specific to items or situations. So you might find some help there. That's something you can do. Let me put here that page. I'm going to put that in the comment section. When you go there to that blog section there, you will receive an invitation to subscribe to my blog. That way you will receive a notification every time I post the blog so you don't miss anything. That's something for your consideration. So do not miss next week the following events. You can ask questions during the week. Just post them in the comment section and I will answer that as much as I can during the week, or if not, I can address them in the next session. So let me see. I have not been watching the comments because I did not want to make my mind wander too much. But if you have any questions now that you'd like to share, I can address them. Let me see. Oh, I have not been. I have a lot of comments here, but um, 2, 1, 3, just okay. Okay. Right. Okay. So you were ready to learn. I hope you learned something here. Please ask me questions if you have questions, because my idea, my job is to help you get organized on your own now that we are trapped. And it's so important because we're living with other people and disorganization is on our face if we are not organized. That puts us on bad humor and bad mood. So there are so many jokes here, people. um, okay. Yes, it's overwhelming. I know it is, but that's why you need to divide it into little chunks and follow a system. You need to have a system that will save your life. Okay. 17, yes, categories. Oh my God, who has 8 tracks? Okay, Chema, please. You don't have 8 tracks. Liar. Uh, well, you have had fun commenting on things here. I can see that. Okay, well, but I don't see a specific question. If you do have questions, please let me know and I will happily help you because that's my purpose with this thing. Okay, so if you don't have any questions now, I will just, it's 7:58. I don't know. You tell me. I'm just gonna finish this for now. No questions. I'm glad you had a good time. Oh, wait, I do. My cousin has a question. What is your question? Oh, is there a specific, no, that's another person. Is there a specific material you recommend for the bins? Well, I would recommend plastic, those traditional bins, plastic, because these bins will be initially to sort your 17 categories. You can use boxes for that as well. It doesn't have to be bins, but when you have bins, then you have the lids and all that. And at the end, when you do your garage, that is a fantastic, fantastic idea. I have a very specific protocol I follow to do garages, and I involve bins on those depending on the look you want to achieve. For garage, I like the bins that are solid, not translucent, because it gives the uniformity look that we want in the shelves. So if you want to have a head start on that and purchase your bins solid, perfect. Um, let's see. Okay, fine. Alrighty. Well, great being with you here. So I hope you join me for the next one on Saturday, okay? Take care. God bless you and stay well. Let me get out of here. Okay, bye. To save it, I know, because look, but I read somewhere that if you end it, then it will automatically